Thank you so
My
much
middle
for
is
accepting
5
this, man.
Yeah, you're welcome. Happy to be here.
You're actually the first guest that I'm interviewing that's had a TED Talk. You're the first American I'm interviewing. All the other ones have been Brazilian. So I'm testing my English, seeing if it's not that rusty.
You sound great.
Thank you, man. Read Jonathan Haidt's book, The Anxious Generation. That really alerted me. The first time I was impacted by, phone usage as something that made me uncomfortable, I was actually with a buddy of mine a few years ago. I think in a market where I actually met my wife, Andrea. We were waiting for her to arrive with some friends. Mm-hmm. And this guy was always on his phone. He was never, ever present with me. And I was just like, why are you so much on your phone? But, there's a peer pressure that goes around with this biological hazard, because I think I consider this nowadays a biohazard. And I'm actually... and a few years later, I see myself as addicted to my smartphone as this person. And my kids are mad at me because I'm not being able to give them 100% of my presence.
Yep.
And then I'm all like, oh my God, I need to do a dopamine detox. And then I start reading these books. So I read Jonathan Haidt. I read Gabor Mate's Scattered Minds. Started listening to some podcasts about this issue. And then now I actually just finished Daniel Amen's ADD book. I don't know if you're familiar with him. It's really good, really good. I think it's called Healing ADD. I think it's by Daniel G. Amen. He's look at what this guy's is a psychiatrist, and he's scanned around 300,000 brains already.
Wow.
So,
I think I've seen a clip about this, about the imaging that they can pull from a user, and the how quickly the brain can actually repair in abstinence. Like it comes back if you can just separate, which gives you a little hope that it's not permanent, but also that lacks a little bit of immediacy, right? You're like, I can quit later, which is not really a good pathway either.
Dude, I tell you, I tried to stay 5 days, tried to do a complete digital detox 5 days before this podcast because I wanted to come in with the healthiest brain possible. I couldn't make it. Just because, everything is going down on the phone.
Yeah.
I'm getting certified as a licensed therapist, for example. And I have to watch these classes, and they're either on the phone or on the iPad or on the laptop. So how am I going to stay 5 days? And then, but what I was able to do, and I'm going to try this challenge again. I'm going to challenge myself again to stay 5 days, is to leave my phone on Friday night, because I figure Friday night, the work is over. I've got nothing else that needs me, actually. Mm-hmm. And then I'm only going to pick it up on Sunday at the end of the day to see what went on the weekend, or maybe even Monday after breakfast. And perhaps I'll give myself one moment where I could pick up my phone during the weekend, but like isolated. Like, let's take it out for like 10, 20 minutes, see if anyone send me a message that's regarding health, regarding some emergency. I've got a child from my first marriage that lives in another state. It's good to be in contact with him. So I'll take that time to call him. But otherwise, I will not let this drain my energy.
Yeah.
And I haven't even, I don't know, we haven't even really started because I'm a terrible host. I speak more than my guests, which
You've got some great points for me to chew on and think about as we circle around the conversation. I think a lot about, like obviously we know that the device itself and the apps that we use are designed to addict us, right? Like we're in the attention economy. Our attention is commodified and monetized now. And we know those pieces are there. And I think it's important sometimes to like, all right, we already know we're combating that, right? But what is it that like you're going to the phone each time for, right? And I think a lot about how, and I have this as like an artist, as a professional, as someone who, and I think you're this way too, Max, especially someone who's kind of reinventing themselves into a new pathway of a career. You're never quite satisfied, right? Like you always feel like you could achieve a little bit more, and it's not necessarily money, and it's not necessarily status, but there's always a project, there's always something, there's always a mountain to climb. And that's something that keeps us as human beings often like moving forward, right? We have to have these things that we achieve, when kind of we're left with our own boredom, which is, a lot of people talk about where that's creativity comes from. We can talk about that separately, but this is a desire that we have to just keep aspiring for something more and more and more. And we've learned that we can find those things, or at least the illusion of them, through our phones. So, it's easy to say, all right, I'm going to take the weekend off and put my phone away. And if you really sit in that time period, you're not really missing the dopamine from the scrolls. It's like you feel like, or at least for me, I feel like I'm missing out on these greater goals that I'm trying to achieve. And that happens only when you're not sitting down and looking around and saying, my kids are playing right now, they want me to sit and read with them. I live in this beautiful home. I have a healthy family. We have food in the kitchen. And if you could just sit in that peace and in that success where you just are, in that success in the room that you are dwelling in, or that you're living in, it makes leaving the phone a lot easier. And that's just a framework that I've been kind of chewing on. I'm not here to preach that I've figured it all out, because I certainly haven't. And especially right now where my work is being just blasted everywhere. And, my agent stays really busy taking care of all the incoming inquiries and stuff. But as an artist, it's like, damn, all these people want my work right now, and that's fulfilling. But I have to balance, like, are those media requests and publications have a greater value than having, some really good one-on-one time with my wife when she's rarely home? She works as a pediatrician at a teaching hospital. And it's like, we can blame the phone all we want, but we're injecting onto it all the other things that we're trying to achieve in the world. And so you've got to be at peace with where you're sitting, with the people you're sitting with, in order to not be drawn so deeply by that magical box.
That's true. That's a good point. It's like a deposit for loneliness. Where you put your loneliness, because you can get artificial affection, which will never substitute real affection. It's like, I saw that you were very influenced by the author of that Alone Together book, Sherry what's her last name?
Turkle.
I forgot.
Yeah, Sherry Turkle.
Sherry Turkle. And on her TED Talk, she says exactly that. It's like, a machine is not a good substitute for another human being. So, yeah, man, it's crazy. I don't know if I retrace. I wasn't so addicted to my phone until maybe I started losing myself in life. Kind of when I was going through my first divorce, and I was really stressed, and I had absolutely no one. And then I think maybe the phone was there, and then all the biology behind it and the hormones. Like I go through withdrawal symptoms. Like it's pretty intense, but it's pretty good, because after I get through the hump, that first hump, it's like intermittent or prolonged fasting. When you fast, you get those what's it called? Ketones. The ketones generating energy from your body fat, and that boosts your brain. And then you're like, what? Food? No. Why? Why do I want food? I don't even want it. I'm so much happier. So I'm dying to
positive
try.
cycle.
I am. I'm trying to. Do you have an idea of what the time cycle is from, being on that addiction wheel, and then cutting that off, and then maybe going cold turkey for how many days before you get into like ketosis, digital ketosis? Does that exist? I mean, Is there an objective marker?
Somebody must be testing that at the moment. I hope they are. It's so tricky though. I think about like I've grown up around cigarette smokers. I have smokers in my family, and you watch someone will quit, but only as long as like the two of them are, or the ladies outside on lunch break, but as soon as one person goes back in, it just brings you right back into it. Like you don't have a ecosystem that is supporting that distance. And with a phone, I mean, when I started the project, it's 10 years old now. I started kind of was made public 10 years ago this October. And 10 years ago, it was like, you still kind of felt weird about putting your phone on the table in front of you at a meal, right? Like it still signaled something at that point. And it doesn't anymore. Now it's like, you just expect that the phone's there, and then someone's like gets a call and you're like, oh yeah, I'll, excuse me for being here. You take it, and they don't even mean that sarcastically. It's just like, that's the social norm now. And I'm hoping that starts to change, because I think now, I really attribute, because this isn't the first cycle that there's been attention on my work, and I attribute this year and having so much interest in my project this year has a lot to do with Jonathan Haidt and the Anxious Generation, because he kind of laid it out in a way and within a group that really took it to heart, and enough people were thinking about it to where now it's kind of mainstream to be talking about what we're talking about right now. 10 years ago, it was like, this guy removed the phones, what a Luddite. He's not, worried about the future. He thinks it's, everything's doomed. And now it's like 10 years later, it's like, well, actually, there's some big issues here. And people are really by design sucking us into these things as much as possible. And we're giving into it very easily. So, yeah.
I think the digital epidemic is the real epidemic. It's much more of a hazard to humanity than COVID, for example, which is a very perhaps bold statement for a few people who might listen to us. But I don't know. I don't know with your sensibility what you think about it, because it's just leaving us disconnected. Yeah, I mean, if you go and study mindfulness, for example, you see you can only be fully present in one place at a time. And you need to space yourself, like be present, then space yourself, then focus on another thing. There's so many books about this. There's one on my book on my book table beside my bed I started reading. Just started it yesterday night, called Essentialism, which is you've only got so much energy. You put it into 10 spots, you're gonna fraction yourself into it. And, you really need to focus down on one thing. One of the things that led me to fail economically in my life in 2018 was that I tried to put myself in multiple businesses at the same time. And I couldn't be there for any of them, because my mind was scattered. And then talking one day to my wife, actually, right outside the studio door, which is in our home, she said, my love, let me tell you something. Less is more. And then, the less is more was just like, I first I didn't assimilate it. I didn't put it in, into the right fit. But then I was just like, that's possibly one of the most important things anyone has ever said to me. Because if I'm in 9 places at the same time, I'm never fully present, and I can't establish a relationship. I mean, if I acquire a property, and there's a lot of people that say that, oh, you need to acquire property for your security, for your family safety. Every key that I acquire is a fraction of my mind that I'm selling off to that specific objective. And how many pieces of my mind can I sell off? I see all these people that are multimillionaires, and then you sit down to talk to them and they can't even look at you. Their eyes are everywhere because their mind is anxiously in all the places. And then I was just like, from this day on, I will never buy another property unless it's like, okay, I'm selling mine. I need another one to live, or I'm actually going to use it. But I'm never going to buy an investment property because I want less keys, because I want less things. And so, and this thing will bring, 1,000 fraction pieces into your mind. And I think we're in a really good place, like in terms of evolution of digital maturity. And what I mean by that is that we started off all excited, like this is the future. And now we've got these really great voices that first were writing about it. And then you take this to a whole other level, because you take that saying that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and you put that like in a way that everyone should have your book in their home. Like as soon as I saw it, I was just like, I need to have this book in my house, because it's a constant reminder for me that I need to digitally detox. Because when I'm fully in, when I'm present with my kids, I can educate them better because I've tuned in. I've done the attunement part of parenting. So now I can attach, and then I can educate and conduce. And I can actually listen to what my wife is saying when I sit with her. So I'm like on a vibe, like I'm on a mission. I want to go back to the 80s and 90s, kind of, like cell phone is great. And at the end of this podcast, I'm going to ask you to teach everyone how to do the removed selfie thing. Yeah, because I myself want a removed selfie. I want to take my beautiful family picture out of my screen. I want to look at my beautiful family live through this screen.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to elaborate on that, or else I'll just tell you a story, which was like shocking to me that happened a few weeks ago.
Let me react real quick to just a few pieces you had just said. And I appreciate you bringing the book up, because it's just a really important kind of piece to this, wild puzzle we're living in. But the idea, the fracturing and being all these different places and being drawn out and spread thin, that was really the influence for the subtitle of the book, which the book's called Removed. And then it's called Elsewhere, Everywhere, Nowhere is the subtitle. And that's the whole concept, that we have this access that just puts us in so many places that we actually exist nowhere. And so I'm glad you gave that kind of unpacking that description of it, because it's what I was trying to communicate. And I think a lot of people feel and deal with in this situation. And then the other piece was the book itself as being this catalyst, this reminder, was like a no-brainer for me. And I've been waiting literally 10 years to make this book, because I wanted the time to be right for it. Because as you know, it's been distributed like wildfire online, and people are looking at it in their screens. And I'll read the comments of people being like, oh, well, it's an ironic that we're looking at it on the screen. It's like, well, actually it's being delivered directly to the place, and people get that feeling, but there's still that motion that is just built into using that device to just go on from it. I think when you have the book and it's in your space, it's in your home, it is that reminder. It's this thing you've invested in, that like, this is something that I identify with now, and I'm going to use that to the best of my abilities, and for the people around me, to just stop being everywhere and be here right now. And we don't even need to look at the book. I think the cover of the book itself is just enough, that it's like, this is here. This is something I stand for. This is what we embody in our household. I have, you can see it here. I have one of my prints from one of my shows. This particular piece, and we can talk about that later. But it's actually a self-portrait of my wife and I 10 years ago. But that piece is here, and it operates kind of like the book does, and that it is like, let's be here. And my son, actually, my oldest, he's going to be 9 in December. he's starting to realize now that like I'm known for this body of work that actually has some significance. So I get to hold on to being a cool dad just like a little bit longer. I know that's fleeting. But you know, like especially these past couple of weeks, he'll look at me and he'll go, "Dad, look," and I'm like, oh, "All right, you're right," and I put it down. But he's internalizing that now, right? That like we're a household that is talking about this and thinking about this. So I appreciate you bringing up that point that we can talk about.
There's a psychologist called Richard Brandler. He's very famous for neuro-linguistic programming and influencing Tony Robbins, for example. And he says that change doesn't take like the Freudian 10 years that psychology promises. Change comes in an instant, in the right insight, with the right conversation, with the right image, with the right read. And yeah, your image, the one that you have right there on your wall, influenced a behavior of mine yesterday night. I was in bed and I talked to my wife for we had a conversation. It was pleasant. And then we kind of, she picked up her phone because she said, I want to see a bag here from a store and whatever. And then I went to pick up my phone. I was like, no, forget that. I want to be here for you. If you're going to look at a bag, let's look at a bag together. And then I was like, oh, this is so boring. Oh my God. I said, it's not a male activity. And I was just like, exactly. What am I? Are we going to be two people looking at the palm of our hands? And is this socialization? And every time that I'm with someone and someone picks up a phone, I feel lonely. I don't only feel lonely in that period. I feel like I wasn't important enough for that phone to have been completely put away. Like I'm always a plan C, because any beep on a phone or any distraction will have that person interrupt whatever conversation or interaction she's having with me, he or she is having with me, to give their attention to the little black box. So I think that is a real prejudicial, harmful, I'm not sure if prejudicial is the right word, I think it's harmful that I'm looking for, wedge into human personal relationships, with which anthropologically is how we were able to get past natural big wildcat predators and thrive as a species. And perhaps, if we don't come back from this cliff, if we don't have enough voices, enough writers, enough podcasters, enough photographers like yourself, bringing these people back from the cliff, I just see all of humanity just kind of floating off the edge of and just, going into loneliness. And then you've got all these things. You've got drug overdose and, all these problems that really make people very, very, very unhappy and nihilistic. And they don't believe anymore in the world, because the world is actually relationships.
Right.
People need a witness. Grief needs a witness. Love needs a witness. Happiness needs a witness.
Yeah.
But unless you want to,
the same piece. That's the same piece with our kids. Like, even just like you were talking about, like being present enough so that you can educate them, right? Like they don't even necessarily need our input in that space, right? Like they just need witness that we are sharing in the joy or their own discovery without even like having to speak. Like them just knowing them having that feeling that we are in the same space as them, the same room, and like just even observing them offers them this like safety to like just achieve a lot of growth and self-driven development on their own. My wife and I's kids, we were lucky enough to get the lottery into a Montessori program, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with Maria Montessori's teachings.
Dude, my kids study at a Montessori school here in Maringá.
Yeah. It's just like, and my wife and I are previous public high school teachers, and so we were, in the formality of public education that is the run of the mill, where everybody's getting taught the same thing at the same pace. You sit at the desk and you learn, you absorb. which we know doesn't work well, and watched that happen in our own classrooms. I mean, I think we were effective teachers. We were great at building relationships, but not everyone can do that. And for my kids in Montessori, I've just learned so much that like, I actually don't have to do much at all in educating them. I just have to be present. I just have to offer a safe space that they know that they are seen. They know that I'm sharing in the development and sharing in the joy in a conscious way, because they can feel the difference. They can tell when you're half in, half out. That's when all of a sudden some kid gets hit in the head with a toy, right? They know that you have left the building. You have left the room. You're sitting on the couch, but you have left the building. And then that's when the block goes and hits Tess on the head. And because it brings you back in, right? And so they learn to do that. We're conditioning them to do that because of our own patterns with our devices. So it's something that, we're just on the cusp of this. I had a childhood without a smartphone. I was born in '86. I had high school without social media, I think until my senior year of high school. So, and no one was really even on it. So it wasn't really, I was drawn to it, but not to where it was like, you didn't think about it. It's like, it was at the time where if like someone brought up, MySpace or Facebook, it was kind of like, ugh, like it was like, I guess cringy as it would say now, but it wasn't like that then. And, I think that gave me a sensibility to be in a position to make this work, right? I had a childhood, I observed other, families and parents growing up that weren't around it. And then we're jumped right in, as I'm coming into an adulthood and my own independence, that all of a sudden you're seeing this expectation of being tethered digitally start to align with everyday life. And here we are. It's, I don't know where I was going with that, but it's scary. And I think like our kids are going to be either really judgmental about the way we handled this, or they're going to be worse off than we are. And I hope they get to a case where they're judgmental and want to fix these problems.
I think we're going to fix it faster than you think. I mean, I think humans adapt very well. They notice when it's gone too far, and it's becoming completely noticeable, and people are screaming about it. Thousands of people, ever more, studies coming out in different countries, the Nordic countries that started introducing iPads in the classroom have retracted, have gone back to pen and paper and pencil. And, hopefully the schools that have taken the physical and activities and free time and culture and theater and music out of the curriculum because of COVID, we'll start putting them back in and understanding that people need to move. And that's the whole Montessori idea as well. We're enchanted with that idea. And, our kids here, just to compliment on what you said, because I think, we could discuss theory all we want, but, real life experience moves people, and they're all like, oh shit. And what I would say is my kids, when either me or my wife can be 100% present with them, are angels. They are so fantastic. They are so well behaved. But if we can't, if we're scattered because of work or because of a phone or anything, they become little Tasmanian devils. They will raise all hell because they notice that we're not fully committed. And then, it's amazing because then some parents might think, oh, but will I be sequestered by my children? Is that it? Is my life over? It's not, because your children also want to diversify, and they also get sick of you sometimes. So, if you think about the love languages idea, and then you fill that bucket up with quality time, when that bucket is pretty much, when they're satisfied, they will tell you. They're like, okay, Dad, you can go do whatever you want. We're going to go play here. And it's good. So all we got to do is maintain that quality time bucket and those love languages 80% plus, and they will let you go and they will let you have a time. Getting into some specific questions, I mean, was there a specific moment when your own behavior startled you into awareness? I ask because on your website, I kind of read the summary. I'm still waiting for your book to arrive. It cost 99 pounds. plus like 50 pounds to get it shipped to Brazil. If I knew you were coming to Rio, I'd be like, dude, bring it and put it in the local mailbox for me. And it would have come out a little cheaper, but it was worth it. It's worth every penny, and it's fine.
Thanks, Max.
Before we go on, just, you're going to be in Rio next week in the Innovation Week. Just tell everyone here, we're going to try to get this podcast out as quickly as we can and drive it to people in Rio that they go listen to you. I think it's really eye-opening. It's important. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, this is all happening very quickly, but the team at Rio Innovation Week reached out to me just like not even 2 weeks ago. So I think a lot of their programming was already, most of it was ready to go, and their team just said, we are really blown away by the message of this work. And the theme this year is at Rio Innovation Week is through the lens of ethics. And so they really want people to be entering the space and the conference, and really the programming that they're curating is to think about what the responsibilities are of the people who are making this technology, consuming this innovation, regulating it, because I think that there's going to be policymakers there as well. So it's going to be an exhibition that is the largest display I've ever had of my work. It's supposed to be about 50 meters long, like the whole length of the convention center on the outside, and massive scale, twice the height of a human being for some of the photographs. And I'm honored for that, because I've really wanted this work to be public. Like the book was a way to get into people's homes, but also to have these moments viewable from external spaces where people can just encounter the work by chance and have a confronting moment is really powerful. So we've put this show together very quickly. I fly out on Sunday, and I'll be in town all week from the August 11th to the 15th. And I think I'm supposed to be giving a panel discussion, maybe with one of the artistic directors or a curator, to talk about my purpose of the work. And whoever listens to this, if you want to get in touch and meet up with me at the exhibition, I'd be happy to show people around and just chat with them about the work. I'll also be bringing all of my equipment with me to Rio, so I'm going to be making some more photographs and adding to the series with people across Rio. I've heard there's some really beautiful places I need to see, so I'll be out shooting film and bringing the work to Rio. And it's my first time in South America, first time in Brazil, so I'm very thrilled about that. I feel very very lucky to be able to be the champion of this work and to bring it to such a huge audience. I think thousands and thousands of people go to this conference, so it's going to be good. And it's people that hopefully will realize. And I'm really anxious and curious to sit through as many panels as possible. I feel like I'm going to want to be in 10 places at once, to be able to listen to people's ideas about what's happening and what they plan to do to help. So it's going to be great.
Hopefully you're at the center of a very small yet very powerful snowball effect, because your pictures are very awakening of awareness, and it's immediate. And hopefully people will be so impacted by them that they'll immediately try to change their micro habits little by little. And then they'll talk about it and influence and influence and influence. And hopefully we can really save this culture, because that's what it's about. I mean, you've got 3 kids. I've got 3 kids. We're worried about what kind of world we're leaving for our children. And dude, it's such an honor to just be able to speak to someone that has produced such a powerful germination for possibly tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of people. Just hopefully your work just spreads like wildfire, just in the notion of the awareness of it. We really need it. We really need it. We need to, start, and we've started already. I mean, just getting rid of the excitement behind technology and being like, okay, it's not all good purple party rainbow Happy Gilmore happy place. And it's also not all terrible, but there are terrible things about it. You know, one of the things, just going back to the kids, there's so many. I want to go to like 4 places in my mind with you right now, but I'm just going to focus on one.
Okay.
One of the kids, going back to to thinking about the kids, you know, when you give your kid access to the internet, you're not giving your kid access to the internet only. You're also giving the internet access to your kid. And that's really dangerous. And you're also cutting the possibility of the child to have a conversation and to be able to hold some ground. You know, you take them out to eat and you put an iPad in front of them. And then, you know, you're having a conversation. He's not hearing anything from your voice because his focus is on a screen. And then when he's not on a screen, you want him to pay attention to your voice, but he's so used to just tuning out your voice and just hearing it like white noise. And then you think he's not listening. And then you get angry. And then you teach bad habits. And all this while, you're the one who has been, consciously or not, framing all this obvious boomerang effect and taking no accountability for it and transferring it all. It's some level of insanity, man.
It is. It's kind of like, it's funny because it's like the parent all of a sudden, you know, if you get mad at them for not listening, it's like you're the one throwing the block at the sibling to get mom and dad back in, except you're trying to throw a tantrum to get them back in. And so you're just going to be doing that within a cycle. Just everyone's exploding until someone else gives them a little bit more into their bucket, and then everyone goes back to waiting until they all explode again. And we've never done that with our kids. It's been consistent that we go out to dinner, we don't have a device out, and we certainly don't give any to the kids. Our kids don't have tablets. We do have some, they can earn like monitored online time. There's some games like they would play, educational type games on the screen. But it's so structured for them that they don't really ask for it very much. We haven't allowed their brains to get addicted to it. And that's been by design, obviously, because of what I'm known for in my own work, but my wife also being a pediatrician. We just know the science behind it. And as previous educators, you know that whatever you create as a norm, it's much harder to take it away than it is to just say, here's the expectation, and we're all going to meet it, because that's what the expectation is, and there's no in between. And I, as far as it goes, I mean, our oldest is 9, so I know that the draw and the desire and the begging for a screen is going to only increase, right? That's the only thing they know, that's normal. But as of now, as it stands, they're not getting a smartphone. I mean, like, it could be indefinite, like until they're old enough to want to buy it themselves. We get to driving and that kind of thing. We're going to get a dumb phone. Like, there's just no reason to do it, because they're not going to be allowed to have social media. We're not going to participate in it. I just don't see how that's going to help them. Now, do I want to teach them about it? Yes. Right. But do I want them to value it? No. And I think for the aspect of like AI and these digital tools, they need to learn how to use those. Right. And that's not going to go away. And I do think that kids could be, you've got to walk that line, right? Like, is the majority of their community online? Like, right, is that where they're meeting their friends? Are we alienating them from that other group that could be beneficial to them? And I don't know the answer to that yet fully, but I do know that we're going to continue to try to build our tribe, at least of people that are within our community close to us, that our kids are going to have set times per week where they're meeting up for their soccer practice or football practice. And they're going to be engaged in other activities that are not meeting up online. And we're going to just be intentional about that, just like we are not giving them a phone. I would much rather, as a parent, walk through the grocery store with my 3-year-old in the grocery store, screaming for 45 seconds because he's frustrated. Because, hey, being 3 is hard, right? Like being 3 is insane. You don't have the full communication, but you have the awareness that things are not the way you want them to be. That is insane. That has to be so hard. So let them scream for a minute. Like, who cares? For sure. Like parents tell themselves like, oh, I've got to give them the phone so they'll be behaving. It's like, no, they're allowed to be pissed off. They'll get bored with that or engage them again. Like the phone is not the solution. And I know I'm preaching to the choir with this, but I mean, it's like, let's raise the bar that like, it's okay if your kids are loud. It's okay if they're not acting perfect because they can't be yet. But let's not wreck their futures because we want them to be silent at the checkout at the grocery store. Let them say, I want the lollipop. And you say, we're not buying that today. And they scream and the people around you are going to be okay. Because at least when they grow up, they can also stand in line and know how to wait and be patient and to be a human being in the real world, right? Like it seems obvious to me. So I hope that this messaging is going to help raise that bar, that pissed off, loud kids are so much better for the short term than it is the alternative of having a bunch of unregulated, wired, completely screen addicted human beings. Let them be loud. That's my whole message.
Yeah, because they learn that serotonin, you have to work for it. You can't, and dopamine as well. You have to work for your dopamine rush. You can't just go there and just drink from a free fountain, which is what happens on the digital side. And I don't know, someone told me these past few weeks that the guy responsible for creating like Infinite Scroll actually took his own life because he said something along the lines that I ruined humanity. I ruined civilization. And I'm not sure if that's true or not.
I want to follow up on that. That seems fascinating.
That would have to be fact checked. I mean, I haven't done that fact checking yet, but that seems insane as well because accountability, man. Okay, who better to fix a problem than the one who causes it? To raise awareness and just be like, whoa, okay, guys, this is a Leviathan, and we need to do something about it. And you were talking about, possible regulation for the use. I mean, well, let me just go back just 1 second. What you said is exactly what Jonathan Haidt writes in his book about creating a community of people who share close values, identical values, in a homogenous way. So, know who your kids are hanging out with, know the parents, know what the parents' values are, what they allow their kids to watch or not, and try to filter that community so that you can all stand together, in numbers. And, Martin Luther King didn't make a change walking by himself. There were tens of thousands of people walking behind him. So it's the alienation part, which he hits on. He says, this is worrisome. Like, many parents think about that. Am I going to be alienating my kids? But, as humans also, just going back to anthropology, we are meant to thrive in small communities. It's not this insanity of having to be in touch with thousands and thousands of people. That's just not the way. We can't handle that. As far as
and it's I was just going to say real quick too, it's getting harder to want to create that community or have the ability or the desire to do it because it feels so daunting now when majority of all the other parents who have kids your age are just already stuck in their homes and they already are worried about their own device, their own habits, that they're not even like being receptive to building their own tribe, right? Like everybody's already, I get this sense that a lot of parents are feeling like either it's too late or it's just too daunting to want to do that. And I really hope that, it's like the first contact point is always difficult, right? And then after that, when you start to find pattern, and create some expectations of the people around you on a consistent basis, it gets so much easier and it's not as challenging and it's not as scary to do it. But I feel like there's this sense that like nobody else is willing to meet to do it, right? Because so many people are just inside now. We've been spending our summer on a lake here in North Carolina, and it's a private lake. It's all surrounded by houses, though, beautiful waterfront houses. And I am like shocked all the time. And we've been going to this lake for 7 years now. But every day this summer, I look out over the lake and it feels like there's like one less boat out there. Like the most beautiful days. There's like, I just have this picture in my head that everybody's in this most serene, beautiful location and everybody's just inside, you know? No, and it's not like it's too hot. Like it's just like, and my son brought this to my attention the other day because we've been going to this lake since 2018. And the house that my in-laws have been building on this lake, they've taken a very long time to build it. They just moved in this spring. And so for the past, 7 summers, we've been going or 6 summers, and we've been going to this lot. It's just a piece of land, and they had a dock built, and we would sit out there. We'd put up a tent, a little covered roof to get out of the sun. And all 3 of our babies, we had them there, like, changing their diapers on the ground next to the water. When they started building the house last year, and they brought one of those portable toilets, for the construction site, like we thought we had made it, right? Like it had improved this space with some infrastructure. And my son said to me, because, this dream house of my in-laws, and we were sitting on the dock one night. I like to fish after dinner. And my son looks over and he goes, Dad, the house is pretty nice, but we used to all be at the water a lot more when it wasn't here. And that hit me really hard. It was like this thing we all desired that compartmentalized us from each other and it was the pinnacle is actually not the thing that he wants in his life. When it was hot and sticky and hard, everybody was in the same spot. We're all working together to, solve small problems like, we've got to wash the baby or we're going to cook the meal together and it's on the one grill and it's next to us, right? And we're sitting, we have the paper plates and everybody's sitting in camping chairs. And it was like having less was so much better to him. And when I think about it in that way too, it makes so much sense, to have that simple life is so much more fulfilling on an emotional level than a big house on the water. But now I kind of put 2 points into one, but I feel like now the house is there. Other people have built their spaces and everyone is just inside and they're alone. And it's a scary shift to me. And I want to fight like hell to change that. I really do.
There's a children's book that we have here at home that the kids are loving to read before they go to sleep. It's called 5 More Minutes. Só mais 5 minutos. In Portuguese. It's about it's 2 little foxes and their dad. Their dad is like the adult fox. And it starts something like, my dad thinks he knows a lot about the time, but he doesn't know anything. I know a lot more about time management than my dad. My dad's always saying that we're late, that we need 5 more minutes, that we only have 5 minutes, but we have time for everything. And it's amazing that when we pay attention to our children and how they manage time, I would say like the internet problem had an origin when we invented time, like an actual clock, because they said, like in one of the tracks of the book, my dad says, we have to go, we're late for swimming class, but I know exactly what time it is. It's time to go running to swimming class really fast. And then I was getting my kids ready to go to a birthday party this past weekend. And I saw myself like paradoxically thinking, pressured thinking, let's go. We have to wash our hands and brush our teeth or else we're going to be late to the party. And my kid was like there and I was really present. So I was able to stop myself and flow with him instead of me pressuring him. And I put him on the counter, he's 3.5. And he was just interested in having fun with the water. And he didn't care that the birthday was starting at whatever time. He wanted to have fun with the little water in his hand. And it was awesome. And we spent a long time over there just fidgeting around and having fun with the water. And everything that you do with presence is fun. And you actually register it in your soul. So the clock thing, we really need to learn from our kids. They do it much better than we do. And their clock is like, am I satisfied yet? Like, I would be playing with my 5.5-year-old for an hour and a half, and he's all like, you didn't play enough with me. And I was like, and there's no way I can convince him. I'm like, no, abstractly, it's been an hour and a half. He's all like, what are you talking about?
What does that even mean? Yeah.
He has no idea. These abstract adult concepts. And if we just live in the present, and I think that one of the things that we can do when we're away from our phone is use this phone tied to this phone, registering our what we do in this place right here. Because this only registers information. It doesn't register in the soul. And it's amazing. Like my oldest son had his birthday party in Rio last week. I couldn't go because my second son had surgery and we were grounded. We were going to go, the whole family decided not to go. So we didn't go. And in his birthday party, in the time of the happy birthday, they were singing happy birthday. Most of the people there were filming the happy birthday. Why? Like, why? Really? What's the point? Who's going to watch it over?
Yeah.
I was like, instead of just registering there and being present, being with your soul, man, being with your son, actually being there. Like, I was having lunch in a food truck outside the local park here, which is a fun activity to do on Sunday. And there are these little monkeys, these tiny monkeys. They always appear. They're always there. And they appeared close to our table. When we went to look at the monkeys, okay, it's fun to look at little tiny monkeys, whatever. So many people had stopped and taken out their phone to film the freaking monkeys. Are these people really going to get home and look at the little monkey on their screen and like laugh about it? Like, we are addicted and we're sick. Because if you want to learn about monkeys, dude, go to National Geographic, watch a documentary. You're going to learn about them. You're going to see them in like 6K with the drone. You know what I'm saying? Yep. Enjoy, just enjoy the freaking moment. See, let's take some bananas to the monkey and feed them with the kids, and they're going to think it's cool. And watch your kids absorb what you're actually watching. Because, I mean, for you to be with someone else, you need to be with someone else that's right next to you through a device. That's insane. That's insane.
Yeah. There's studies too that show that our ability to actually remember things in detail decreases dramatically when trying to document them. So they did these studies where they would have people look at a picture or look at a scene, and then also try to take a picture of the scene, and the people, without trying to photograph or film it, had a much greater recollection of the event itself, and even of like the memory. So people, like the photograph, can also kind of create these like falsehoods of what actually happened. Like people would then describe a photograph and add things in that didn't occur, because it's just been mediated, so it's not registering the same way as if you were just having that emotional reaction to it. And I think that's the piece of the soul that you're talking about, is that when things are kind of felt in a deeper, more connected way, it becomes more embedded into you, almost in a physical sense. And that matters a lot. And it keeps, adding up. And, there's all this pressure to create content for, whatever it is. If you're think you're an influencer or whatever, and you've got to post it for likes, and, it's just not a great way to live. And I think a lot too, like, our conversation kind of has cycles around kids, because we're parents of, 3 kids that are young. There's kind of, it's the center of our universe. So it comes up a lot naturally, in our conversations. But also the smartphone debate has for the longest time been like, oh, this younger generation is so tied up with their phones. What kind of childhood is that? And I think about this a lot, and I like to say to that, which, yes, it's a problem. But I also like to say, what kind of adulthood is this? what is it really that we're experiencing where we need to point the finger at someone else, where we're the ones that created this mess, we're modeling this mess. It seems less of a issue, or it seems like, a misdirection, a misuse of energy to say that, blame a different generation on what's happening. I think that we need to step up as the pioneers of this and make some big changes, or at least start, some incremental pieces one at a time. Like, hey, at my kid's birthday party, I'd appreciate it if you didn't bring your phone out, and let people honor that. I think that that's the piece that's missing the most, is getting back to putting the phone on the table as being rude, and until we set that example, at least within our own households, there's no way it's going to start back on its own, So I think that that's the piece, is like little by little, incremental, in situations you can control. The Evite goes out for the birthday parties. We've got 3 kids. I mean, it's, I always tease my wife. I'm like, everybody has a birthday, don't they? Each kid has 30 kids in their classes, 90 birthday parties all of a sudden that we're in charge of going to. It's insanity. And then their siblings, well, I always like to say that everybody has a birthday, but, I think, you send out the Evite and you can say, it's becoming common now where people are like, please don't bring a gift. Your presence is the present, right? Have you heard that?
For sure. I say it all the time.
Yeah. And because they don't need more stuff, right? I actually worry about the fact that my kids are going to become hoarders, because we're kind of quintessential millennials, where we like try to get rid of everything. We have too many things. And it goes in cycles, right? Like my parents have this they had this very cluttered house when I was a kid. And I would always like repel from that. And so my wife and I, you see everything on the shelf back here. It all has a place. I worry my kids will want to just start, grabbing a lot of things when they get older. But anyway, on the Evite, when they say your presence is the present, then we should also shift that into your presence is the present. And to say, let's have a no device birthday. We also don't need to bring gifts. There's going to be cake. No one needs to photograph it. We're going to eat it, and it's going to be lovely. And we'll all remember it more because of that. And I think that that's a simple gesture that you can go to. And sure, someone's going to make the argument, oh, well, Aunt Sally couldn't make it, so how is Aunt Sally going to know? It's like, well, Aunt Sally's, 64. She's seen at least 64 birthday cakes. So it's all right. She'll try next year a little harder to get there.
I love that, man. I love that serenity. I need you to move down here and be like one of my best friends so that we can chill and I can, just get some of that. They say you're pretty much the sum of who you spend time with, and I've been trying to really spend time with quality people ever more that can influence and rub off on me the right way. Dude, I don't know how much time you have. I'm a speaker, man. I will talk forever. I've gotten I've got a list of questions. I've asked you maybe half a question, and we're online for an hour.
When we keep doing tangential things here, it's fine. I think that'll make for a good conversation. I'm enjoying this. As far as the set limit goes, what's time, right? Let's keep our hands in the water, man.
Okay. I've got a time limit because I actually have a birthday party to go to. I swear to God, man, I have a birthday party to go to in about 2 hours, and we got to get out of here in about, at most, like in another hour or an hour and some, but we could go a little more.
That's about where I'm at too. I've got to, I still have to pack for Rio because we're leaving tonight to drive back to the lake, and then I'll be going directly from the lake to Rio. So, gotta pick everything up. Do you want to talk about, this is your show, you run it. I know we haven't really talked about the Removed series, if there needs to be any sort of introduction or, I guess you'd asked,
first
I don't know. Go ahead.
I actually want to put you on the spot first and ask you if you ever struggle with the same digital habits your photography critiques.
Absolutely. 100%. There was a period there, like 2016, when, so 2015 is when it went viral the first time. It was October of 2015. And that happened because of a dear friend writing a story for me, about the project for Business Insider. That's what launched it. It was like 3 days later, I'm on, live on CNN and live on the BBC, etc. And that's when the TEDx talks approached me. I actually missed an email that went into my junk email, which was from TEDx Havana. So if TEDx Havana sees this, please call me back. But they were technically the first people to ask, and I missed it because it just went into my junk email. That my grandmother was born in Havana, so I would love to go back and see it. But anyway, during that period, I was writing this piece. I'm working with a speaking coach, and I really was at that point trying really hard to be not on my phone a lot. And I was writing about strategies that people could implement. And we had implemented the no phone zone in our rooms. And we had a basket in my studio. Our old house had the dining room was my studio. It was the front room of our house. We had no major table to sit at. It was just that's where I worked and did my artwork. And we had a basket in there, and they had the 2 charging cords, and her and I would plop our phones in there at night, and that was it. And I was really good about it for a long time. And then that following December, we had Corbin, our oldest son. And I remember my wife started bringing her phone back into the bedroom because she was getting up in the middle of the night to nurse the baby. And I was like, yeah, I always, and I did this with all 3 of our kids, middle of the night, they stir and wake up. I got up every time. I would change the diaper and give fresh baby to mom, and then I'd go lay back down. And I make it sound like I'm doing a lot of work, because breastfeeding has to be just so mentally and physically exhausting. I mean, I've watched my wife go through it 3 times. She breastfed all 3 of our kids for a minimum of a year. That was always her goal. My wife sets goals and she achieves them. It's like she's the strongest person I've ever met. But I remember she started bringing her phone back into the room, and I had pause, and then I said, who am I to tell her how to handle nursing, And I know that there's going to be some reaction of like, there's this connection with baby and mom. And, 9 times out of 10, when she's feeding baby and it's during the day and she's awake, they're having that bond. But it's the middle of the night. I've changed the baby. I've gone back to sleep. I'm snoring over here. She's alone feeding this baby. Baby's halfway in and out of sleep, and she gets on her phone. I couldn't interfere with that, and I will not allow myself to pass judgment on that, because I just will never know exactly what that's like. And that started to cause some slipping, and then I realized that I was bringing my phone to bed again. And at this juncture again, my phone is in my room. It's on my dresser, so it's not side table. I'm a very light sleeper, so a notification will ping me up, and so I just because of that, I can't have it next to me, because I'll wake up. But yeah, I still have that draw. I mean, I could be driving in my car and I feel like I want to reach and grab it, and that's why our whole conversation here. We've got some great anecdotal examples as how it's impacting us, and I think we're beating the drum pretty hard about how we feel about it. But I don't think it's possible to really, at least for me, to say that I've got full control over it. I just don't. There are parts of my chemical brain that have been completely infiltrated by my smartphone. And that's where it's at right now. Like, that's where I'm at in my life. And I wish that I could be this spokesperson, this artist who's made this really impactful body of work about something that is really harmful. But I've yet to implement a system that would allow me to say in full honesty that I've separated myself from that thing. Because I just haven't. I just have not. It has such a grip.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if we ever will do that. I think these things are here to stay, and to evolve till the next technology comes along, the next best thing, or if we get hit by a meteor, that can happen as well. Or
just nihilistic again, aren't we?
just complete war, and then we're over, and then we're like, no, we're so much better than the dinosaurs. Yeah, You guys lasted 7,000 years. Ask how many 150 million years the dinosaurs lasted, and you were so much better. It's crazy, man. Okay. What about what got you into photography? You were a high school teacher?
Yeah. So photography came to me it's actually funny because I just got to talk to my high school photography teacher. She reached out to me about 2 weeks ago. We haven't spoken in a long time. But I was in high school and I just got placed in a photography class. I was still at a time period, it was 2002, I think, when I was I think I was a junior in high school. My guidance counselor just put me in a photo class. I'd expressed interest in art before then. I really loved drawing and writing, and I think I've always just been creative. My dad is a metal artist. He makes metal sculptures and has a metal signage fabricating business. So I grew up in his shop using tools and making things. My dad just has a high school education, but he thinks like an engineer. He likes to solve problems. Often overbuilding things is his aesthetic. But I got placed in a photo class, and I still remember to this day the very first time you get to make a darkroom print, where you've got the red safe lights on in this dark room, and you've got a revolving door to get in to not let the light in, and you cast some light onto a light sensitive sheet of paper, and then you kind of feel around and find the tray, and you dip that in to the tray, and you start to move the chemistry back and forth, and all of a sudden this white piece of paper turns into an image, and it's magic. I mean, I have the chills right now because I still remember that feeling of creating something out of nothing. I brought this light from a different location in the world to this dark space absent of light, and it's appearing in front of me after the right balance of chemistry and physics. It's just so cool, right? Like I was just like, this is amazing. And I really didn't care about the technical aspects of it as much as I was at that point, just the magic of it. It was really exciting to just duplicate this process over and over. So I started printing a lot. And then shortly after that, I started to realize, after bringing a camera with me to a concert, where I'd also often felt, I was kind of a nervous, anxious teenager. Like, I mean, most teenagers are self-conscious. It's part of figuring out who you are in the world. But I realized that this show, that having this camera around my neck was like this symbol to people that, oh, that's what he's here to do, right? It just like it was like having a name tag on, but looking a lot cooler than that. And then I started bringing it to the skate park. I was really into riding BMX as a teenager as well. And so I started photographing BMX competitions and going on tour with other riders. And it was just like identifying as a photographer. It gave me this purpose. And then it was just a few short years after that, both of my grandparents had strokes from one another, and I was the only one in the family that could go down to Florida and take care of them. And I remember my grandfather bought me my first digital camera, and I was at that point only had 35 millimeter shooting film, and he let me take out a loan from him so I could buy this 8 megapixel Canon whatever. And that was just amazing to me because that was allowing me to accelerate my learning process a lot more quickly. And at that point, I didn't have access to a dark room. And then shortly after that, I ended up moving to Chicago. And this is a story I want to bring up because this totally ties into being a present parent who believes in their kid. I've got to give my mom all the credit in the world. So I'm living in Central Florida. Both of my grandparents have had strokes. I'm living in this not old, but in a retirement community. So everybody there, I'm 19. Everybody there is, in their 60s, nothing to do. And I'm photographing. And a friend of mine moves to Chicago, and she messages me and is like, "Hey, you should check out Chicago someday. Columbia College Chicago has an open house." She sent me this email to advertise the school. And I remember that night, things were starting to wind down in Florida. I wasn't sure exactly, but I was probably going to come back to Charlotte, go back to living with my musician punk friends. I was working at a restaurant, taking some classes at the community college. And I sent that email to my mom and I said, "Mom, maybe next year when things get more settled, I'd love to go up to Chicago and check out this program. And she was like, all right, yeah, I'll look into it. And the next morning when I woke up, I had an email from an airline that my mom had booked me a ticket to go to Chicago that weekend. And she was flying down to take care of my grandparents so that I could go and visit this school and see this photography program in Chicago. And that thing right there that she chose to do, she didn't really have the money to do it. She had to miss work so she could come down and take care of my grandparents for that weekend. Completely changed the trajectory of my life. And that was a moment where my mom was like, I believe in this kid. I believe that he has a vision, and I want him to be able to get the best education he can to do that. And so I went up to Chicago and I was like, oh my gosh, this big city, there's a train, there's this massive, Columbia College Chicago is right in the middle of the city. The dark rooms, you go up the 10th floor of this building. It's a Frank Lloyd Wright building on Michigan Avenue in Chicago. The first floor of the building is the Museum of Contemporary Photography, where I later had an internship at. Learned a ton there. But all of a sudden I'm in this community. So fast forward to the next summer, I get accepted and I move up there. I was no more the kid who got bad grades. I graduated Dean's List. My work had already been collected by a collector. I'd already had a show in Colorado by the time I graduated. And it was already happening. It was like, there was no question in my mind once I got to Chicago and I was in that program that I was going to be a photographer, and not just a photographer. I was going to be an artist. I was going to make work for projects that mattered to me, and I was somehow going to figure it out. And it wasn't going to be glamorous. I wasn't going to have international shows in Rio or go viral. None of that was intentional. But I was set on the fact that I was going to be someone who was going to make work that was meaningful to me. And I was going to find a way to have that be my job. And now here, 15 years later, after that part of the story started, I just got to give a lot of credit to my mom for believing in me. She's awesome. So thanks, Mom, when you listen to this. I love you a lot.
Well, Eric, I think you're definitely more than a photographer. I think you're a photographer of the soul. Your pictures are completely impactful in that regard, in that way. Anyone who sees them is immediately impacted if they have any percentage of self-conscious awareness. And I recommend them to all. I just
thank you.
In any of the subjects, did any of your subjects in this experience, did they experience lasting shifts in their relationship with technology after taking part in your project?
I've followed up with quite a few people with that question, actually, because probably the first half of the series are people that are close to me. I mean, a lot of the series is my family or my parents, neighbors, close friends. I think all of them have this earlier sense of awareness about what the etiquette would be or should be. I think that they're still impacted by their phones in the same way that I described for myself. But I do think that there is this group of people that are aware of it a little bit more than most people, at least people who haven't seen the images. It was always kind of funny especially after a lot of people saw the work. I'd go out to eat with friends and everyone's like, "Oh, we got to put our phone away. Eric's here," and I'm like, "Calm down. It's all right." But yeah, put it away. That sounds good.
Yeah, exactly. It's all right.
Yeah.
It's not. It's really not. So yeah, if you want to hang out with me, get rid of that.
Yeah. No, I'll be honest though. I mean, I've never been. I think that it's obvious now that the shift is happening, and I think 10 years ago, when I first put this body of work out, I was nervous about being someone who wanted to be, even semi-face of a movement. I really felt at that point where I was like, I've created this thing and I can have this separation from my art and it has its purpose and its life, and not everybody's going to feel about it the way that I do. And that's, and maybe there's some safety in that for an artist to be like, I don't have to worry about the impression it makes. I create for me and then it has a life. And I felt like I was trying to do that 10 years ago, where I wasn't an ambassador per se. I was just, I was the I orchestrated this thing, and then it lives as it lives. And now it feels different, because now I feel like with having kids and seeing the extent to where we've gotten to over this decade, that I do want to speak more about it. And I do want to engage with people like you on a show where other people can actually invest a little bit more time to hear these stories and then relate to it, to their own stories, and then maybe make some change. And I don't know what I was trying to protect 10 years ago that I didn't want to be louder about this, but that has changed. It feels very different now. It feels much more immediate. And I feel, and maybe this is the other part about having kids, is you feel like you have this responsibility to guide something that you've made and stand up for it and protect it and see it and be seen by it. And that's where I am now. So, yeah, it's an evolution for sure. Yeah.
Man, maybe what I could do to keep this conversation going would just maybe add more rain to the water that you've already poured, because I basically agree with 110% of everything you said. I would just say, you can't save everyone. Unsolicited advice is horrible. It's one of the worst things. Like we people who have a lot of opinions, strong opinions that are actually founded in many hundreds of hours of reading and studying and listening to more intelligent people than us and studying history. We kind of want to, I feel that I was that person for a long time until I realized, that I was getting very frustrated and people were getting very frustrated with me. So I agree with you in the sense that we should just put it out there and just let it take a life of its own, and try to give our knowledge and our tiny pieces of awareness. Because like Jordan Peterson says, what the hell do we know? Like nothing. We know nothing. To those who want to feel that spark and then just carry it for themselves. I think we're on a good trajectory of starting a path to unwean on this digital dependency that the initial excitement got us on. I don't know how you imagine human relationships evolving over the next decade. I don't know if I don't even know if we can project that. A decade is a really long time. There are so many factors that can. I wouldn't even try. I would just say, do you have any last message that you'd like to leave to the people that are listening to us, that have given the hour and a half of their time to listen to your thoughts, listen to what we've elaborated on? Because this is a theme that we can elaborate on for indefinite amount of time.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'd just like to give you the floor one last time before I say what an amazing pleasure it has been to have this conversation with you, man. It's been very enlightening, and it's served me the purpose of keeping myself firm on this journey that I was kind of sniffing that had to be taken. And yeah, thank you for your work, man. I'm humbled and I'm honored.
Thank you for having me, Max, and I appreciate you wanting to dive into this topic, and I hope that it helps a lot of people. I think the last little anecdote that I'll put in here is this quick story, and it's one that I just it's been happening around me for a long time, and I finally put words to it. But we have a lot of photography in our house, and I photograph the family a lot. And my daughter has this very particular image that she always associates with me and her, and she's a COVID baby. She was born March 5th. So, we came home from the hospital with her and the whole world shut down. And we had this beautiful front porch. We used to live in this little 100-year-old house, and we sat out on the front porch every day with her. And there's this black and white photograph of her, and she's sitting on my chest with her feet up towards my head. And it's a profile picture from the side. And my wife was taking this photo, and she caught this moment where my daughter Tessa's little shoulders are nestled in the palms of my hands, and my hands are facing me, and she's curled up in this little ball, and her little gummy smile is just beaming right at me, and I'm smiling so hard that I've got the wrinkles on the edges of my eyes. And it's just this absolutely perfect, sharp, beautiful moment. It's taken in the afternoon when the light is golden. And even in a black and white photo, you can tell that kind of light, the way that it creates an edge on everything just beautifully. And she has that photo in her mind, and she's only seen it a few times. It's not printed in our house, but she's seen it. I think there's a copy at my in-laws' house. But she looks at that picture in her mind, and she always comes up to me, and she says this like every other day. She'll just come up to me when we're having like a cute, close moment. And she goes, "Daddy, when I was a baby, why did you always hold me?" And I always tell her, and I think that this point rings true to our conversation. And I just say the simple words, we hold what we love. And that can be either something really powerful for you that you're holding on to your daughter or your wife's hand, or are you spending all of that time holding your phone? So I think we need to really pay attention to what it is we spend the most amount of our time holding, because we absolutely hold what we love. And right now, it is as if we're in this love story with our phones. But I think that the honeymoon phase is ending, and I like your optimism that we're going to be moving forward with some better regulation and some better insight. And the voices are loud enough now, and the attention is pointed enough towards the outcomes that we'll come back together. Humanity always repeats itself. And I think that that's been a theme of our conversation as well. So just remember to take notice to what you hold on to and focus on holding on to what you love. That's what I'd like to say.
Dude, I think that's beautiful. I felt it right here, and I'm going to end this conversation. I'm going to go hold my kids, man. And that's
Enjoy
definitely
that birthday party, man.
you, me and you know that is a disingenuous comment. But
I was thinking about making some shirts that say everyone has a birthday. It's totally snide. I need to stop with that attitude.
Sarcasm is better than being naive, but less than wisdom. It's one step below wisdom.
Agreed.
Dude, I was going to let this go, but I remembered. Can you teach me and our viewers how to take the selfie for the removed for us to change it?
Yeah, it's it requires another person. So you've got to
I've got
got to have someone else
right
make
here
it for you. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll for all intents and purposes, this camera's not loaded, although I could get some film for it. I have my view camera here. This is what I shoot the remove series on. Nice. So we'll just do a remove shot of you.
Okay,
right now
how do we do
mic,
it?
All right. So
let's do it.
I want you to take your phone. You got it out?
Okay. Give me a phone. Give me another phone so you can use it. Okay, I got this phone. Okay.
Right. Is someone else have a shot of you? Someone's profile?
Yeah, my right. Vinicius right here, my filmmaker. Excellent.
Awesome. All right. So you're going to hold that up in front of you like you're taking a selfie.
Okay.
Yeah. There you go. All right. Now you gotta make it genuine now. All right. Can you put your hand more towards the camera? I want to see. Yeah.
I'm not photogenic. I get all like my wife is like, do your natural smile. I'm all like, yeah, it's horrible.
You ever see when you tell your like 5-year-old to smile, and how did you forget to smile so bad?
Yeah, you got to say like something like like pee pee, and they're like,
it's always a potty joke. It's always a potty joke. Absolutely. Yeah.
But
All
okay,
right.
I got my phone
slide
out.
the phone out. Yeah. All right. Slide the other. You can use the other hand and slide it out. There you go.
Okay.
All right. Now get a little more lost. Smile big. I'll get a shot of my screen here with this. Hang on. We just got real corny here. All right. Ready? Oh, I didn't close my lens. This is the hard part when I'm actually shooting these, is remembering all these buttons on this camera. All right, you ready?
Dude, yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah. Did they get a shot of you too? And I'll do this.
Yeah.
There we go. All right, we got it.
All right. That's my selfie picture.
Yeah.
That's the one I'm going to put on my phone to remember how ridiculous doing this really feels.
Put it as your background. Yeah, you can do it.
Eric.
Yeah, thanks, Max. I appreciate the time.